You are listening to
The Free Amigos.
Hey, I'm Casper.
I'm Mark.
And I'm Tony.
And welcome to a brand new series of the Free Amigo podcasts. And as ever, I've got my two padres on here as well. Mark down there in Langley in Berkshire. How are we doing, Mark?
Yeah, back again, mate. Second series in exotic Langley. But yeah, great to be back. Obviously had a great first season, and changing things a little bit for the second season. So yeah, excited to get going again. It's been a while.
Yeah, definitely, mate. A bit of a midsummer break, and eager to get back on the pod and get some guests on for season 2. And over there in Indonesia, Mr. Burmans, how are we doing, my friend?
All good as always. Still in lockdown on a beach. So can't complain, but absolutely, yeah, and it could be worse, absolutely. And I'm so looking forward to this season because we've got so many amazing names in already, people that want to join in and tell their stories. And especially after listening to the last episode of last season where we discussed all the best bits, I can listen to that over and over again because it's just so many amazing stories. So
yeah, definitely. I've listened to it, I think, 4 times now. Yeah, and every time I pick up something different every time I listen to it. It's well worth it. We'll put the link to that again in the description here in case anyone's missed the wrap-up review of season 1. And finally, I'd like to introduce our first guest of this season, live down there in the very beautiful Torbados, Mr. Rich Francis. How you doing, Rich?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming.
Luckily, I'm indoors because it's not sunny Torbados. It's tropical typhoon Torbados. TTT.
Yes. Is it quite wet and windy down there today? We've got similar weather here, but you're obviously by the coast, and you probably get a bit battered in when it gets a bit stormy down there.
Understatement of the season, Tony.
Can you see the sea from your house?
I can stand up, take a look in that direction. Somewhere behind this big ass white wall, there is the sea.
Wonderful, fantastic. Well, thank you very much for being our first guest this season, Rich. I appreciate your time. And today we're going to talk to Rich about his journey, and 2 words crop up when I think of Rich, and that's discipline and dedication. Rich has recently progressed to R1 leadership, so congratulations again on Rich on that. And I know from speaking conversations I've had with Rich, he'll admit, like anyone, that he's gone the long road and had his struggles, had his hurdles along the way, and but for whatever reason he keeps going, doesn't let it get him down. He's never quit. He's always just put one step in front of the other, and he is definitely a martyr to dedication and being disciplined and just keep going forward. So, Rich, talk us through your story and your journey, please.
Jeez Louise, how long you say I got on here? 3 hours? No, I'm joking. I was going to say, where the hell do you want me to start? My journey's been like, I said this to you the other week, Tony. I said my journey's been a bit like having a string attached to my ankle, attached to a donkey, and being dragged up a hill, hitting every rock on the way up.
That was it, yeah. You put a bit more eloquent than I could, yeah. That was it. Yeah.
A lot of people think that starting a business for themselves is like going to be easy because they hear these ads left, right and centre. It's simple, make money online, all of this, and it's like this is the standard sort of go-to thing, right?
Yeah.
But then again,
hook you in.
It really does depend on what sort of level of expertise you're coming from, and there's so many variables. But the one thing I always knew was that no matter how long this is going to take, compare that to spending 40 or 50 years in something which simply doesn't fulfill you. You know that you're not really being respected, you do not resonate with the people that you're working with, and then you're still doing the same thing in 50 years without making any physical progress or even enjoying anything of life. It's really a no-brainer. I don't care if it takes 10 years to get to that stage, because at the end of the day, I would rather trade 10 years doubling down on my work to enjoy the rest of my life how I want it than to do something that I really don't like, that just causes friction and frustration in me every single day, to get to the end of my life and go, was it even worth it?
That's it.
Yeah.
I watched one of your videos today, actually, and it is about having that why, isn't it? And maybe start with the why, because you are going to come across these hurdles on the way, things are going to block you. But like you said, if it's a case of look, I either keep going up this mountain, or what do I do? Just stay at the bottom and just see out my days in a miserable way. I mean, it's an easy choice, isn't it? If you've made that choice, look, I definitely am not going to live my life in that old way. So what's the alternative? I've just got to keep pushing up this mountain no matter what hurdle comes across, isn't it? And in that way, you can push through anything, can't you? Because the alternative is what? Just kind of like see out your days and, not testing yourself. Yeah, it's a no-brainer, isn't it?
You set that non-negotiable, don't you? That's it. I will not negotiate on this. I will make this work. It's just a matter of time and effort then, isn't it?
I don't know about you guys, but regret scares the hell out of me. And I mean that seriously, because if you look back over the last sort of like 10 years of my life, I've been from point blank wanting to commit suicide 4 times as a teenager. I've had bullying, I've had relationship failures, I've had numerous different things, and it's like the amount of times I could sit there and say, I really wish I hadn't done that, I really wish I hadn't done that, if I'd done this would it have been different, and how much that hurts and frustrates me and gets me all riled up and annoyed. It's like, do I really want to add another thing to that list? So I really do feel like it comes down to truly knowing like why you're doing this from day one, because if you're really clear on where you want to be and you cut off from any other example or any other alternative, then if you keep reminding yourself this is why I'm doing this, then I think motivation comes easy.
Yeah, fully agree. Yeah, I also see a lot of people at the moment where you, for instance, say like I'm going to quit my job. And I had the same. I just had one day that I said I'm not going to do this work anymore. So I even got some job offers in as a freelancer, and I just refused them, which was a really strange thing. But I couldn't do it anymore. It just didn't feel right. But then you don't have any money, so you need to find an alternative. So you create with that, with that scarcity, you create the motivation to do something new. You can't stand still. And I really like that. I see some people that actually do the same thing, go all in, quit my job, and now we have to go uphill. It creates the motivation.
It's that, isn't it? Dan Holloway says a lot like burning the boats, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're on the island. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Did you do that though, Rich? Did you?
I love that.
Did you literally? I know a few people who have said that. That you literally need to cut yourself off completely from your old life to make that change happen, so that it becomes necessary, or like a lot of us are doing, it's more of a steady progress where you've got your job and it funds, it might be a slower pace, but it's perhaps a safer route, to keep the job and just build slowly. Or do you subscribe to that route of just cut yourself off from your old life completely and just go in 100% to make it happen?
I think it really does come down to individuals, in truth, because one of the things I would say myself, I'm very certainty driven. I like to know exactly what's going on, but then on the other side of things, I hate having the same thing every single day. So I'm this weird balance of like, I want to know that everything's going to be okay, which I think a lot of us are chasing certainty in an uncertain world at the moment. I think that's why a lot of the frustration is all materializing. But to kind of answer the question, I really think it comes down to like knowing yourself enough to say, what do I actually need to do? What do I need to prescribe to achieve this result? I'll give you an example. I've spoken to some people who you can see that they're not really quite here yet. They're like, yeah, I like the idea of it, but I'm not fully sold on doing this. I'm not committed yet. I'm waiting for this like arbitrary day when I'm finally going to make the decision for this to actually be my reality. And there's nothing wrong with that. It happens to everyone at different times, right? But the reality is that until we make that decision, it's never going to happen. Now, some people, I personally think you're better off just holding on to a safe, stable piece of income and building it around that. Because if you're certainty driven, you want to know you've got that paycheck coming in to fund any mistakes you might make. And hey, that works wonders for some. Yep. And then you'll get others that they'll just end up in this like la-la land. They'll be on a scale of like 1 to 10, 1 being no commitment, 10 being fully commitment. You end up in this like 5. And I think that some people, you do need to kind of launch yourself into it and just kind of like chuck yourself off the cliff and hope you land on a featherbed. It's that kind of analogy.
Yeah, but that's what you just said. What I really like is that about the regrets. That makes me think about like that saying that if you're on your deathbed, you rather regret. Well, regrets are stupid then anyway, of course. But it's way better to just do all kinds of things and have failed at them, rather than not having done them or not even have tried to do things. And I find
that's my biggest fear. I'd rather regret something I've tried and failed at than never tried it in the first place.
The thing, I really started to realize how that works when my boat sank. And so in Cambodia, my fishing boat sank. And I was really upset about that, of course. And I sent an email to a friend and I said, well, oh no, my boat sank, I've lost everything. And the only thing he sent back, well, at least you got a boat on a tropical island. Yeah, that's true, yeah. You can only sink a boat.
Perspective.
You can only sink a boat on a tropical island if you've got a boat on a tropical island. It's just a perspective, and I tried. And so now the sinking of a boat on a tropical island is actually good fun instead of sad. And I really like that, yeah.
And to liken it a bit, I'll give you a good example. When I first started this, I really did come from this space of, look, I left school with 2 E's, 2 D's and a C, which means that I was that kid in school that was there. I said there was the thick one. You'll never achieve anything. You'll never, and I was told this from a very, very young age, right? So I was your typical underachiever, typical underdog in every example. And I must have missed about 4 years of school. So basically, it's kind of like I was hardly destined for anything fantastic. So I came into this with no experience, no entrepreneurial flair, and it was just figure it out. So the first year was literally just like banging my head against the brick wall daily. I remember shooting like 50 ads and seeing 1 out of 50 that ever actually did anything. And that was like my first sort of like glimpse of a belief. Like, maybe I can actually do this. If you can make one, you can make another. And it really was like the epitome of what you've just said with the boat sinking. It's kind of like, how do you respond to that? So the boat has sunk, the business has gone down, the ad has failed, you've been fired from your job, the boat has sank, whatever this boat is metaphorically. It's kind of like, how do you now respond to the sinking of that ship? Do you respond from this space of like, okay, great, but again, I'm grateful I even had that, and now what do I want to do next? Or do we live in fear and frustration and spend so long like going, why me, and living in this space of like focusing on the past rather than where we're actually going? It's like driving in reverse your entire life, yeah, and wondering why you're having accidents. It's like, well, because you're so busy looking back, you're not looking forward. Everything you want isn't in the rear view mirror.
That's a brilliant analogy. Yeah. Stop looking back, look forward and drive forward.
Yeah.
You can't change what's happened behind you now.
Yes.
It's done.
Yeah.
Fully agree.
There's only now. There's only the present, isn't there? You can affect and do anything in.
It really is a internal battle, isn't it? I know, we've got to learn these technical side of things, and there's a lot of work to be done there to get yourself up to speed. But we all have these moments when we're super motivated, and then there's times where we're super doubting about the whole thing, and it's like, this is why. I wrote an email about this today, actually. The whole mindset and meditation, I think, is the most important part of the journey, really. It's when, and we spoke to another one of the coaches, Frank and Tony, recently, who talked about this, being able to kind of take a step back from your thoughts a bit and recognize you don't have to believe every thought that comes up. Thoughts come up sometimes that say, I can't do this, this is not a real opportunity, or, I'm never going to make a success of this. And it's just being able to take a bit of a step back and have a bit of space and not have to believe every thought, is it? Just kind of recognize that thought, okay, but I'm not going to get pulled into it and let it pull me down. Just realize sometimes you're going to feel really positive and energetic. Sometimes you're going to have low energy and you're going to be doubting, but you just keep stepping forward every day, despite the failures, the supposed failures, or despite the negativity or the doubt. It's just that one step forward every day, isn't it? It's not like being incredibly fast on the journey and getting there as quickly as possible. It's just that regular, consistent forward movement, isn't it?
1 millimeter rule. Literally, call it the 1 millimeter rule. As long as you're taking one step every single day, even if it's only tiniest little step every day is going to lead you, every day is getting you one step closer to where you want to be. But this is, again, taking us back to what we discussed probably about 15 minutes ago, was about that why. Why are you even doing this? Why aren't you settling for an unfulfilling career for the next 40, 50 years? What is it that you're worried you're going to miss out on? Is it fear of like, you know, I really wish I'd done that because, insert, you know, because I never actually went and enjoyed anything? Is it because I traded my entire life for something which I just wasn't fulfilled with? Was I didn't start a relationship? There's going to be something. So knowing, like, getting really clear on your ideal day. What is it? What would life on your terms look like? You know, getting clear on the motivation of why you're here so that you don't end up in that space. And knowing that when you're clear on that, it is just a case of one step at a time.
So where was that kind of that breakthrough that happened for you then, where you suddenly realised for sure that you could make a success on this journey? You know, I think a lot of us, our little community, that are kind of with one or two exceptions, are in those early stages at the moment, and are just really kind of stumbling around, hoping that they hit on this one. Perhaps it's an ad or whatever it might be that asserts the belief, you know, that they can actually do it. But there was obviously a point where you kind of suddenly went, I can do this, you know, and you've been, you know, making a success of it ever since. But was there a point? Was it a mindset change, or was it just literally something that clicked with your advertising, or can you pinpoint it?
So it's hard because there's been so many multiple moments, and out of transparency, I get these thoughts daily, okay, and you're not human if you don't. I genuinely feel like, again, it's that voice that you hear. It isn't you, it's your past experiences talking, it's your childhood indoctrination, it's the stuff you've been through merely coming up and saying, hey, remember this happened, but we can choose to ignore it. Landmark was really powerful going through it for that. But if you really asked me what was the one moment, this is going to sound like a shameless plug, but it was actually at the Elite Influencer in October 2018. I remember walking into this giant, great big room full of people, and like hearing from people, like, you know, I'll give you an example. Like, let's go back 2 weeks even before that. I was in the 90-day video journey, which is an enclosed Facebook group where we all share our own journey and we all develop our skill of speaking on camera. And one person had mentioned how he'd made like 4 sales in a week, and he'd been here a couple of months. I think we all know who this person is. And I remember then just reaching out to him and saying, how? And he had 100 people asking how, but he reached out back to me and said, you know, why don't we have a chat sometime? Something I said must have resonated. And at the time I was lost, I was confused, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just kind of fumbling through it. And he said, are you going to this event, Elite Influencer? And I said, yeah, I'm trying to, but I'm not sure I can afford it. Because at the time I'd had nothing. I was just piling my money into something and setting fire to it. It just wasn't performing. And I said, I can't afford it. So anyway, he messaged me back 20 minutes later and says, I've booked the hotel already and you ain't got to pay for it. You just got to get there. Yeah. And I was like, what? Nobody does that. Nobody says to a total stranger, I'm just going to book the hotel. Yeah, it's fine. And I was just like, this is mental. What kind of community is this? What kind of people will literally just pay for your stay to a complete stranger? And I would say it was at that event of being there and being around like the leadership team and hearing from someone who'd been here 3 months, similar time to me, pretty much same time, right? Had already started seeing results, and just spending 2 days with him, just chatting, just getting to know him and really building like that relationship. And then going to the event and hearing how other people have succeeded, and all of these people in the room sharing different sort of like perspectives and stuff. And honestly, hearing a lot of the stuff that subconsciously I already knew. Because I'd always been an overkill when it came to studying. I always wanted to learn new skills to make up for the fact that someone once told me I was stupid. So I said, I'll show you, I'll become smarter than all of you. I'll learn everything there is to freaking learn. So that was like, that's always been like my superpower, was quick learner to prove you wrong. Okay, sometimes things work out for the better. But in terms of that, it was just a case of leaving that event after making a really good friend, someone really changing my mindset of what I thought like was even possible when meeting new people, being surrounded by all these success stories, and really leaving those 2 days and going, you know what, a lot of this I already know, so it's clearly not a knowledge thing that's holding me back, because if it was a knowledge thing, then I'd already be stood on that stage now. Right? And then kind of everything from that point kind of shifted, and it's probably a good job it did, because, and here's something your listeners will like, I got in the car that night about to drive home at 10:30, and you'll never believe it, car didn't start. I was trapped in London, literally, right? Didn't start, and I was like, this is crazy. This is ridiculous. Really? Called AA. They finally turn up 3 hours later at 1 a.m, right? They tow me 50 miles and leave me at a service station at 2:30 in the morning. It is fucking freezing, guys. It's -3, and I'm like curled up in my car shivering to bits, and it's like, oh my god, why did I even come here? What is this all about? And I really had to deal with that like inner critic, because there was so much noise now being left on my own in this cold scenario. And I remember getting out of the car and going and sitting in the like service station lobby, just feeling sorry for myself. And it got to about 5:30 in the morning, and I'd actually done a 90-day video journey live, just kind of sharing those thoughts. And that really kind of brought me back into everything that I'd experienced over the last few days, and kind of going, well, you know, why am I feeling sorry for myself? This is just yet another test. This is just yet another sort of like hurdle that I'm going to have to jump over. So what? You know, why does this matter? It just means that if I can get through this, then what is there I can't get through? Because most people in that moment be freaking out, and then all of a sudden this sense of calm just came in, and I was like, well, you know, what else could have possibly gone wrong? Everything's gone wrong tonight. I can't control the situation, but I can control how I respond to it. So
I love that.
that was basically the end of it, and I got home, just to let you know, 11 o'clock the next morning. So I'd spent 24 hours between London and Paignton, which is like a 3-hour drive. So what a wild few days they were, but that was probably the moment when a lot of it really started to shift, was being exposed to all those challenges in that small space of time, and really starting to adopt the idea of, like, you know, again, it's like this may not be easy, but with all these people have succeeded and all these people have been through challenges, then what the hell, I can do the same. This can't be that hard, surely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were still standing, weren't you? You
Precisely,
were
yeah.
defeated by
I
all
punched in
that.
the face numerous times, but hey, I'm still standing.
Yeah, once you start to understand that, then you become so powerful as well. Once you realize that it doesn't matter how many times you fall flat on your face, you get back up and you take the next step. And then the next time you fall flat on your face, you go, oh, yeah, I know how to get up. And after 10 times, you go, well, I'm invincible. I've got superpowers. The superpower of just keep going on and just, and like you said, what I really like is when you just go like, what we always say is like when something falls over, don't put it back up, because once it has fallen over, it can't fall over again. And that's where you say like, okay, so everything is wrong, or everything failed today. Well, can't get any wronger than this. It can't go, nothing can go wrong anymore, because everything is wrong already. So there's only one way forward.
But it was in the accepting of that which then enabled me to kind of deal with the situation and then move forward. Because again, it's not until we accept things for as they are that we can create the possibility of creating something new. For as long as you're fighting your current circumstances, nothing new can be created, because you're still battling what's currently not even like actually happening. We're having such an inner dialogue here where you got one voice here going that and you're doing that, and you're so trapped in here that you can't do anything out here until we kind of accept that this is how it is.
Yeah,
Choose your battles.
Isn't it?
Choose your battles, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. I had a conversation yesterday with someone, and he was talking about what went wrong the last couple of months. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to listen to that for an hour. That's just, I don't have the mind space for that. I'm talking about what's going to go right the next upcoming month. Choose your battles. What are you going to spend your time on? And even, not even with other people, but also with your inner dialogue. I never, when I got like a negative voice in my head, I say, we don't have time for that, because we need to go forward. I don't want to have a cluttered mind on what can go wrong or what went wrong yesterday. Moving forward is the only way we can. Moving backwards will be completely stupid.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that kind of came to me. There's something about surrounding yourself with the people that you want to emulate, isn't there? You know, they say with that phrase that keeps coming up, you are the average of the, what is it, five people that you spend most time with?
Influencers, or 10, they're both valid.
That's it. So if you're part of a community now that's with people that have achieved the results that you're looking to achieve, it's what they always say. If you want to go somewhere, then find someone who's already been there and you know, follow them or do what they tell you to do. You know, it's so if you're surrounded by those people that have got that mindset of that success, then you start incorporating. It's almost like you incorporate their voice into your mind, isn't it? Their voice becomes part of this whole kind of ego that we've all got, and so it's a positive influence. Then those kind of those thoughts start pushing in the right direction, as opposed to surrounding yourself with people who might be holding you back. Because there's always going to be some people who necessarily don't want you to succeed, because it might be a reflection of their own insecurities. But the other thing is that thing of realising if something bad happens. I know Casper, we talked a lot to Casper in the first series about things that happened to him, in the desert, and getting lost and getting bitten by a snake and his boat sinking, and it's a bit different to these kind of things that happen to us in the UK.
A lot of things go wrong in my life, but I love it.
But can you say to what I was going to say is, can you reframe it as something that's been important to me is when these kind of difficulties come up and you're not getting the results you want, is to say, well, this is what I need. This is happening for me instead of to me. This is what I need at the moment. Okay, I'm not getting the results I'm hoping for, but this is what I need at the moment for my development. Perhaps if I did have some instant success, it'd be great, but I wouldn't necessarily develop in the same way as if it was taking me a lot longer to see these results. In other words, this is just what I need at the moment. There's a greater intelligence at work here than just me and my mind.
This is where I'm going to cause a riot on this Zoom call, but I think this will be quite entertaining. So I think we should anyway, just to give someone a bit of fun here. But I've had to adapt and change who I think I am now. I've lost count. I genuinely have lost count. Over the last few years, I've gone from scared and shy and unable to even want to pick up a phone, to hey, I can shoot a video, to hey, I look stupid, what's this BS all about, hey, I'm just not going to do video. The evolution is just unreal. But the biggest thing that I now try to live by was actually something that came up at the end of last year. I attended something called the Landmark Forum, and this I'm not an affiliate, there's no money to be made out of this for anyone, but if there's anyone who's kind of unhappy with the way their life is, or they find they're having a lot of negative battles in their own mind, this is my most powerful thing that I've ever been through, because it forced me to get very real with where I feel I am in my own life, and I realised that I wasn't taking responsibility for 99% of the stuff in my own life. Now, I used to hear people saying you got to take responsibility, and I'm like, yeah, I get that, and it's conceptually, of course we do, we all know that, but how many of us emotionally get that? How many of us actually understand that we are what we have in our life is an exact reflection of how we're handling and how we're showing up, how we're being, how we're actually out in the world doing it, right? Not necessarily the way we're thinking. Anyway, point to be made here is that one of the biggest things that I do almost 24/7 is I want to introduce a new piece of language to everyone, and that's called a racket. Now this is really, really powerful stuff. Anyone who takes this on, I'd love to hear their thoughts on this. Has anyone ever heard of what a racket is on this panel?
Probably not in the context
I think about for me.
No.
Right, awesome. You guys are going to geek out over this if you take this on, trust me. Right, so here's where things get fun. A racketeer, if you go back many, many years, would be a bit like you'd walk down the street, you'd see an innocent confectionery store, and you'd look in the window and you'd see an old granny behind a counter selling sweets, and you'd go, oh, isn't that nice, right? But what you don't know is then 2 hours later you'd see a black saloon car pull up outside, someone walk round the back of the building, knock on this old wooden door at the back, and they'd say password, you'd let them in, and in the back, behind where that granny's selling, they'd be selling guns and drugs, running racketeers, right? Selling naughty stuff, dirty, horrible business, but it's disguised at the front. This is how a lot of us live our lives, running rackets. We hear things like, you'll make something wrong. So here's the pattern of behaviour, okay? We automatically, as a byproduct, even me saying what I'm saying now, somebody listening is saying, I agree or I disagree. They're saying right or wrong, period. There's no getting out of it. Even if you're not saying it now, you're hearing it here. You're like, this is right, this is wrong. Now here's what happens the second we label something right and wrong. We then say, no, this is right or wrong because, and we now add extra weight to it. So now we justify why this is right or wrong, and we come up with reasons as to why this is the case, and we press our argument further, whether you're doing this internally about yourself, or whether you're doing this about somebody else or something else in the world we're living. Then we will either try and avoid the situation, so avoid dominance and walk away from it because it's too much to deal with, and therefore we have this horrible feeling left when we walk away like something hasn't been resolved. Or we dominate like I've done in previous relationships, and then that causes nothing more than the fourth stage, which is where somebody or something has to win and something has to lose. And as long as we have these feelings, these things showing up in our life that are like, it's unwanted, but yet it persists in your life. I'd encourage anyone right now listening to look at anything in your life right now that is unwanted, but yet continually persists. And I can promise you with 100% certainty, it is because subconsciously, consciously, knowingly, unknowingly, you are making something wrong about someone or something. And until you let go of the right to be right, even when you know you are actually right, because it will feel like it, you will continually experience that loop. I never used to like the idea of surrender. It used to irk me, but isn't that exactly what I'm talking about? Surrender is wrong. Think about that for a moment. If you struggle to conceptualize the fact of surrendering, and you're like, that can't be the case, you're making it wrong. Which is why you're experiencing that frustration when someone talks to you, when you have that conversation with your boss, your spouse, and they say something and you feel emotionally compromised and you're like, that's not the case, you're talking rubbish, you're making it wrong. And then we start having a row. That's not the truth because... And then we go to stage 2. And then we say, I'm not having this, I'm leaving. And we dominate, and then you say, I've won, you're lost, and you wonder why things don't work. Well, that might be why. Feel free to be triggered and shout as much as you like.
Yeah.
I like what you say there about surrendering, because I think the wisest thing that you can ever say is, I don't know. The moment when you start to realize, like, I study a lot and my whole life is about studying. But the moment I can say, I don't know, I feel so happy. It really makes me happy.
Now you can learn.
Not being the wisest in the room.
You've surrendered to it.
I've prouded myself my entire life after being told as a youngster I was stupid, I was brain dead, I wouldn't achieve anything, on being right and being knowledgeable and knowing everything, because that was my identity, right? Now here's the catch. Here's the nasty side to this. When you feel you know everything, you go out into the world telling everyone you know everything. And to part of me, I'm almost thinking that right now, I'm almost showing that up a little bit right now as we speak, which is why I'm trying to become aware of that. But here's the reality in it. It's like, if you always think you know everything, you can learn nothing new.
You're never a student, are you? No. I like that.
Yeah, it's this ego, isn't it? Which is something we're all working with. But it's being aware of it, isn't it? It's not like, oh, this is bad, to try and dominate someone else. Or, ego really is about that voice that says, I'm better than this person, or this person's better than me. It's this kind of putting yourself in a sort of hierarchy of somewhere. And it's just being aware of that. Oh, okay, there it is. There's ego. We're not going to get rid of that. That's just part of being a human being. But just being aware of it and not letting it control you. The fundamental truth is we're all the same, really. So anything that kind of tries to divide you with someone else is the ego, and it's just being aware of that.
So many people go through life not being aware of that, though, are they? And their own ego. And as Frank's spoken to us recently, Mark, about it's not making it about you all the time.
If you're purely thinking about yourself and money, you're going to be permanently stuck. Because people can sense that, really, in your communication.
That is a big leap. That is a big step to make. I mean, that's kind of the same thing as the burning the ships. If you want to take the island, burn your ships. Really, it's kind of like, it's a really strange thing, and I still haven't really figured out how the universe does it. But the moment when you stop thinking about making money, the money will come. And it will just come in some weird way, and it will be more money coming when you don't want the money, kind of. Not saying I don't want it, but really not being focused on that. It comes. It's such a strange thing, but it works.
I've got a theory, but then again, it's only a theory. And hey, everyone will take from this what they will. But it's like the easiest way I can kind of explain how I see the science behind that, even though there is no explaining to it, because we'll all have a different meaning for this. The way I see it is like, when you stop focusing on making money and you start focusing on providing or telling stories and just adding value to people's lives, people will, instead of like smelling this like urge of like this person's doing it this way, if you shift the way you're being, the way you're showing up, and instead of showing up to get something, you show up to give something, people want to come closer to you. And the best way of describing it was, I heard a long time ago, and this is something that still sticks with me, is it was Bob Proctor who mentioned this. And this is, I don't always agree with a lot of his stuff. I don't make him wrong for it, but I don't necessarily like the sound of it. You see what I did there, right? But it's like the impression of increase. So every time you leave any situation, anybody, leave them more full than they were when you started the conversation, and that's adding value, isn't it? You leave them in a better place than they were before, so you create that emotional connection, so somebody wants to get to know you more. If you think about it, when we show up trying to serve and not sell, that's the exact outcome we achieve, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, you've enriched their life in some way, shape or form. They feel like you've made them grow in some respect, haven't you?
I think a shift that I also see there is that if you just give away knowledge and all that, like you just said, if you enrich people first for free, then the money comes after. And that's something that was a bit difficult for me to see, is that normally when I get a job as a freelancer, that I first I come up with a price, of course. So this will cost you that and then that. And then I already know while I'm working on it, that's the money I'm going to get. So I already have the money before I don't really have the money, but I have the money already. I take it in my account before I start working. Now I just share all my knowledge and inspiration. And then some people just started donating money to my account. Just because, and it was really strange. So someone just transferred $100 into my account, and I said, oh, and then I felt the need that I had to do something with that €100 or $100, and she said, no, you already did that. You already gave all that, and that's a big mind shift for me. That first you just give, and then the money comes after, and the value of the giving is not predetermined. So it's not like with the freelance thing, like, okay, I'm going to give you this much value, but you have to pay me that and then that. No, I'm going to give you everything for free, and you decide what you find it worth. And then the funny thing is, because I gave it for free, if no one pays me for it, I'm okay with it because I gave it away for free. When someone pays me for it, I feel amazed. It's amazing. But that's a big mind shift for me.
Tough thing to do though, because ultimately, especially when we come on this journey to being an entrepreneur, you are thinking about the business side and the money side. And I think you touched on it there, Rich. It's like initially you might be seeing money going out and nothing coming in, and it's like, that's a test. That is a real test, isn't it? You know, where it's like nothing's happening, you know. And I think for a lot of people, that's where they might sort of give up and go, this doesn't work. You know, but it's a real test to see that money going out and see nothing coming back initially, and just trusting. Okay, it may not be happening at the moment, but I believe in myself.
That's the same thing.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. I had it like I learned that once in a relationship. Is I send an email or a message to a friend, and if the moment when you start sending messages to people like, hey, I hope you're doing well, and you send that without requiring an answer. Right? A lot of people send a message to get an answer. But if you just send the message, and if you don't answer, I'm okay with it. The same thing here. If you take the value of what you give, so if you spend an X amount per month on your business, and you expect a result, like what you said there just, Mark, like, oh, nothing is happening. So you're expecting something to happen. Take that off. Just you have the money, and if the money's gone, you're zen with it, everything is okay. I think that's the moment when the whole thing starts going. That's your momentum.
Isn't it fascinating how, do you remember earlier we were talking about the two types of people? The one that's like, I need to burn the boats, I need to go fully committed, and I'm just going to quit my job. And then there's the ones that are like, I need that safe, stable income, I need something to work with. I think you've just epitomised number two. You know, I keep some safe, stable income coming in, so I'm okay if nothing works. There's that, like, that's what gives you the certainty, right? That's what gives you that feeling of like, it's all going to be okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, I don't think there's a right and wrong answer here. It literally does just come down to knowing yourself what's going to put you more at ease. And sure, you can fight an uphill battle and you can say it's all going to be fine, it's all going to be fine, and you can say it until you're red in the face. But until you genuinely accept that, it probably won't. So isn't it easier to just kind of go, look, okay, right, so I'm in a position where I've tried a few things, it isn't really working out for me. What can I do to, what's the real problem here? Is it me? Is it time? Is it money? Okay, great. Being solution focused. Okay, so it's money, great. Well, believe it or not, money isn't actually hard to earn because you can just get a job. Even if you're completely unqualified and a dunce like I was, apparently, get a job in a bloody supermarket. You don't need much qualifications for that. Struggling with that, get a paper round. There's going to be something. So money is
and there's always the
the
McDonald's.
issue. Yeah.
It's this short-term sacrifice, long-term gain, isn't it? I've heard of people like moving home with their parents for a bit, or
mate, what do you think I'm doing?
Yeah, exactly. And it's a sacrifice for the long term, isn't it? So Gary Vee talks a lot about this. Is this kind of working to maintain this lavish lifestyle your whole life and impress people that you don't like, and it's a trap because you'll never break free. If you've got all these bills to pay.
That car on my driveway is the epitome of that, right? Long story short, came out at the end of a relationship, was really hurt, was making everything around me wrong. This shouldn't be the case. Why is this happening? Blah, 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 right? Perfect buying mood, okay? So I know what will make me feel better. My car's naff, I need a new one. How stupid is that? How unreal is that? How does a new car solve that problem? Really?
Yeah.
Right?
Only in the short term.
Yeah, big time, right? Yeah. So I go and I speak to him and he's like a friend of mine, and it's funny how relationships work, isn't it? Want to take a test drive? Go on then, why not, mate? Cheers, appreciate it. Relationships, noticing this, right? Go for a test drive, come back, I'm like, it's a lot of money, it's 15 grand loan. 2 days, come back, haggle, knock down a tiny bit of money, bought it, right? Bought it, loved it, felt big man on campus for like 4 months, like, yeah, look at me and my sunroof and all this sort of stuff. Funny, innit? 3 months later, I'm like, but you've just sacrificed a month's marketing budget every month for the next 5 years.
You're driving in it.
And I'm like, the absurditude of what you've just done, because I know now with the business that I'm building, if you gave me £200, I know that I can return that very, very quickly, and that's before any extra sales come in from that investment. So I'm like, you literally just fell for the ultimate joke, and I use that a lot now, and people are like, oh yeah, but I can't afford this, and I'm like, well, think about it logically. Sure, you can get yourself a real short-term win. Hungry? Great, order a McDonald's. Need money? Great, get a job. Need a relationship? Tinder! It's all there for you, isn't it? It's all there for you, isn't it? And it's so damn easy.
You've got to look hard enough, haven't you?
It's just so easy to do, and it's like, but we overcomplicate it because we get stuck in this, like, because it's all now so easy, we live like that. So it's like, I want a new car, bank loan, no problem. But unless we're clear on like really where we want to be, and we're committed to that long-term sort of stretch, and we're willing to go through the unpleasantness because we know that eventually we are going to arrive at this destination, whether it's in a fancy car or not is kind of irrelevant, right?
Yeah, I've spoken to a few people that same reason. They have a call with them, and it'll be, I haven't got much money, but I always say it really depends how committed you are. If you believe this is going to work, and if you really want this, you will find a way. Like, I made a few sacrifices, not massive sacrifices, but just cutting out things. I decided not to cancel my gym membership. I was just going to go cycling and running, which is free. I wasn't going to go to Costa every day. That adds up over the course of a month. Cut out a lot of the supplements I was taking. Decided I wasn't going to have like a big holiday this year, and so there are things you can do. You can cut out, and all of a sudden it adds up every month to pay for the investment in yourself, which is what this is really, investing in yourself and your future happiness. So if you really want it, you can. Everyone, I think, we're in the UK, or if you are in a you are in a place where you're not in like a third world poverty or whatever it might be, you can afford to invest in yourself. It's what you're willing to sacrifice to get there.
If you're not willing to sacrifice, how creative are you prepared to be? It's like I like what Casper's done. right? He's like, freelancing, it's fine, because if you've already got a predefined skill set or something, then it's not really, how hard is it for you to earn money, Casper? Seriously.
Oh, it really depends. It really depends. It's like, well, there's a reason why, of course, I'm starting my online business, because it really is depending on the season. Sometimes work comes in, sometimes it doesn't. But in the past 8 years, I've been traveling the whole planet.
You can still work.
And apparently, I had money and I had food. So
Still
yeah,
alive.
apparently the answer to your question is enough. Yeah, enough.
There we are. But I see 4 different ways of creating an income. For example, COVID hit me hard with my business, really hard. I had a lot of people that got stuck in that space of like scarcity because, hey, it's been tough, right? You've seen, I know loads of people that have lost their jobs. I lost one of my contracts from one of the things I was working on at the time. It's been tough. Now, quite easily in that sort of situation, you can go, well, that's it, that's the end of the world. To hell with it, give it up. Yeah. Or you can say again, living what I'm stating, okay, great, well, how much do I actually need to get back on track, and how long will it take? And just having a bit of like taking a step back and just removing the emotion, because the emotions are what make things tricky, and just being very cold about it. Okay, great, so I need to find £600 a month more, and with my current like setup, that'll be dealt with in 12 months. 12 months. Confidence to know so, because I've done all the testing, I've done all the hard work already. So it's like, great, all I need to do then is find like a 16-hour part-time job. Like 4 days, 4 hours. I mean, Jesus, I won't even see it gone. And I'm still living a life that I've wanted anyway. So it's like, I can make excuses or I can make results. And it's like, well, just get a freaking small part-time job and stop moaning. And the quicker you do it, the quicker you're going to be done in the 12 months, and the faster you're back to normality again. And that's hard. That's hard, because we've got all this programming, like, what will people think of me?
Ego again.
Yeah, what will they think of me? Everyone's going to laugh at me. People, and we make up all these stories and all this bullshit, and we get trapped in that. And it's like, well, let's be very real for a minute. And I'm just going to say this out of total transparency, because again, I'm trying to live authentically, right? If anybody who would judge someone for doing what it takes, even if that means taking a step back, right, and doing something humbling for the next 12 months in order to achieve that outcome and not live like that for the rest of their life, if they're willing to judge for that and they're not willing to accept that, hey, this person's not perfect, then that's perfectly fine. Carry on living an absurd, normal life.
That's a reflection on them, though, I feel.
No judgment here. No judgment here. If they're that like uncertain about their own ability, or they're that unprepared to be seen in a bad light just for a few moments, then they're probably better suited in that sort of like role. And this is where again it comes down to knowing what you want and what you don't want, because the end of the thing, the one thing we can all agree on here is that if you learn a skill set or you gain something, doesn't that give you more certainty?
Yeah, builds confidence, doesn't it?
Yeah. So the reality is, yeah, you can go back and get a job, or if you've got a current skill set, use the stuff we're all learning anyway, and position yourself online and generate an income from that. There are so many ways to do it, but the thing I'm most guilty of is shiny object syndrome. Who here can relate to this? You see an opportunity, you become an opportunity junkie. Right? You're like, oh, this thing's amazing, I love this, but I can earn an income this way, I can do this, I can do that. There's so much that we become like this like a dog on heat, like left, right and centre, this, that. But unless we just go, okay, look, I can focus on multiple things, if that's your like personality and you can do multiple things and still remain calm and composed, great. Me, I can. I just straight up can't, nor will I, because I know that I focus on too many things. And that's the reason why in the early stage I think I struggled so much, is I spent so long coaching others and helping others that I never even helped myself. And as a byproduct, my own business suffered. Now, don't get me wrong, it got me a lot of connections and a lot of thank yous, and it was really fulfilling, and that's one of the things I think I kind of turned to coaching and building communities and doing all of this. So again, I can sit there in regret, to go back to our earlier topic, or I can say, well, actually, that's a gift, because that's shown me where some of the things that I want to do lie. So it's about having that self-awareness of understanding that on this journey, there's going to be a lot of signposts.
Or even seeing what you don't want to do. I have that now. Like I think I'm setting up my 4th business now, in 6 months, because I was like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do, and then I'm doing it. And like, nah, this is not what I want to do, and I try something else. And instead of feeling like, oh, every time I'm doing the wrong thing, I feel really enriched so now I know this is not what I want. Now I know.
You can tick that off, can't you? You can tick it off.
Yeah, there's the same value in knowing what, not as in knowing what. I think it's the exact same value. And so yeah, I really like that what you said there. Yeah.
So what about the future for you, Rich? Just for finally, obviously you're sort of you're getting this success now. On the affiliate side, but where do you see this progressing eventually? Is it coaching then, creating your own coaching business, or are you kind of you're fully committed at the moment and focused totally on affiliate?
You literally couldn't have asked me this at a more appropriate time, because literally I made this decision to pivot when a lot of stuff went wrong during COVID. So I started helping out a digital agency. A little plug from Elevate Digital, 2 friends of mine who I met in SFM, funnily enough. As ironic as that sounds, once again, proof that the community is really powerful. And I've recently started helping them a little bit with their digital agency, just sort of like bringing my skill sets into the market and saying, hey, look, you're a bit of a strategist, cool, help people out with that. And then I was working on this coaching thing, and then I had the affiliate who's starting to see the shiny object syndrome turning up a little bit here. So again, it was like, to answer the question like solidly, I'm looking, and like I said, I'm pretty certain I've got this small part-time job. So next month my marketing will recommence with the affiliate. So I'm going to be focusing in 95% on that. And one of the things I'm doing is more of a passion project and less attached to the income coming from it, is I see so much of new sort of like starters struggle to get their head around like certain concepts, like avatar, knowing who to speak to, like knowing what sort of strategy to put in place. And I'm just a scientist. I geek out on that stuff. I love all that stuff. So that's the reason why I'm kind of building this other community and doing these other things there, is to try and help people solidify all the, like, pardon my French, mind fucks that kind of go on when we first start and all that complication by just simplifying it. So main focus is to use the SFM affiliate system, because there's just something I love about being able to bring people in, guide them on their journey, help them make their first successes. And the cool part is, as a byproduct, you even get paid nicely for that. And the side project, which is going to be just more of a bit of fun, bit of passion, just something to express myself in so I don't get too bored, will be the coaching side of things. And otherwise, I'm just remaining open to whatever might present itself, but aware that focus needs to go in on this side. So I'm in the process of relaunching it. So simple answer is I'm going to focus heavily on the affiliate side. As you said earlier, just literally finally got into the leadership team. Took a long ass time, but my plan is to really develop things through there. My overarching goal is to get 10 successful affiliates that are all building their own business and living their ideal life as a byproduct. And then basically, when all of that is taken care of, and I can fully commit my time, I will then put more energy into the coaching side, because again, it's just, there's something about watching other people get that kind of benefit more than just me, literally what was said earlier. So I feel like the last few years has really highlighted that.
Yeah, because you've obviously started up in the last few months, haven't you, the new mastermind community, the SFM affiliates, which is great, part of that. You, Mo, Caroline, Amar, Gary McIntyre as well. Yeah, sorry. You guys are fantastic. You give so much value. There's no quid pro quo about anything there. It's just give on the webinars, and I think it's fantastic. You've decided to sort of organically just come together, and I saw that video about how you guys connected and one another, and it's almost felt like it was meant to be. You guys were meant to come together to form this new community and just help people, and you can see that you're all very genuine. You're all there to care and share. I think it's kudos to you all, really. It's really good because there's so many people who join the SFM, and obviously there's all the modules, but more so when they get out of the modules, it's like, oh Christ, where do I go now? What do I do now? And so having you guys, and you're all in the leadership team, and you've got so much experience now that you can give back and share, I think it's really good of you.
Again,
thank you.
Thanks, buddy. I mean, again, I'd love to say like, you know, oh yeah, it's this, but again, I get just as much out of it as everyone else, because again, I really think it comes down to that like sobering life experience of just always being told no, and this is just how the way it is. That it's almost like there's so much more to it than that. So when I have the ability to just help someone get that breakthrough in whatever way that is, or just by sharing something with them, when I can see someone else has benefited from it too, I definitely get that feeling of like, you know what, this is what I was meant to do. This is how you turn all of the challenges and the adversity into something where everyone wins.
Yeah, I like that, and I have that with my my calls, the in focus calls, that I'm the one that's learning the most. I think it's like for me it was such an insight that especially as a teacher, when a teacher gets in front of a class, the first lesson, he's learning, not the class, and that's just such an amazing thing. Is that of course a lot of and then while I'm learning so much, a lot of other people are taking a lot of information in and learning a lot. So now suddenly there's this gigantic momentum going on of everyone growing, and that's amazing. It's a grateful feeling as well.
Yes, it's like that. It's like I heard someone else say on the leadership side, is that instead of like 100 sales, 100 lives changed, you know, which is a really great way of saying it, isn't it? And that changes the whole perspective. But awesome, thank you, Rich. That's a brilliant start to a new series, and love your energy. You know, it really is like infectious, isn't it? And I can see why you've had the success you've had to date. You know.
Sorry, we went a bit off tangent. I did warn you in advance that when I get rattling, it's like a steamroller. It's hard to stop. So yeah, you need to work on that.
That was great, Rich.
Thank you
ever
passionate.
so much.
Yeah, passionate. It's great to see.
Yeah.
But there we go. Brilliant. Thanks, Rich. And thanks, guys. We'll obviously be back again next week. We've got some brilliant guests, as Casper said, lined up for this second series. And thanks for your time, Rich. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure, guys. Great to be around you.
That's it for now. See you all next week. Last thing to say today. Adios.
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 You have been listening to
Free Amigos.
Hey there, hope you've really enjoyed listening or watching to the conversation today. And as promised, we have all the links to the topics discussed in the description below and also on our website.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, please feel free to hit that subscribe button or follow the link to our brand new website where you can sign up to our weekly newsletter.
Thank you for watching or listening. We hope you got something good out of it. If you've got any interesting topics you'd like us to discuss or any questions, please don't hesitate to get in touch. And that's it. See you in the next pod. Adios.
Cheers.